There are certain things that become so second nature that you kind of forget to actually stop and think about it. And that's what's happening here today. Today, we're just going to talk about Local 58. If you are not familiar, Local 58 is, to many people's opinions, and mine as well, the originator of the analog horror subgenre of internet horror. And this series first appeared in 2017. It's created by Chris Straub, who had already made a name for himself in the internet horror space as the author of the iconic creepypasta Candle Cove. And Chris is very talented outside of internet horror. He is primarily a comics artist and has had several webcomics that have been running, at this point for decades. So, he is very much tied to the fabric of the internet. And this series, like I said, to me created the subgenre of analog horror and through that digital horror that we see today. Without Local 58, there would be no Gemini Home Entertainment or Walton Files or Mandela Catalog or Greylock or Lacey Games or Ches Kids or any of these things. It really is the blueprint for all of this. There is some argument that the ARG CHSS is the original analog horror. I personally view CHSS as more of an ARG than an analog horror because a lot of the story is told off video in Twitter threads, websites, things like that. So it's proto-analog horror, but I would consider it an ARG. And there's also a very compelling argument to say that Marble Hornets is the first analog horror. And I understand that, but I think Marble Hornets is more a film adaptation of a beloved creepypasta. It feels like an actual found footage movie. To me, it is missing a lot of tenets of analog horror with the broadcast interruptions, the more motion graphics and things like that. And certainly as you go on in the analog horror subgenre, there are examples of more found footage style series, but they often still contain those motion media graphic components. The ones that come to mind for me are Greylock, McKinney Family Home Videos, and Dreams of an Insomniac. But I still think those feel squarely analog horror. I think Marble Hornets is really its own thing. I think it's one of the most impactful pieces of internet horror we have. I think that the genre on the whole would not be as strong as it is today, especially the videos. Just any sort of internet horror video would not exist without Marble Hornets. But I kind of think it's its own thing. If you're not familiar, Marble Hornets is, I would say, the Slender Man filmed adaptation. It was a long series, and honestly, a lot of the Slender Man lore and legend that we have today comes from Marble Hornets. I actually have never seen Marble Hornets in its entirety. I've talked about it before on my channel that I was a little late to creepypasta and I didn't necessarily experience it as it was happening. And I do plan at the beginning of the new year to go through and watch all of Marble Hornets, and I'll of course make a video, talking about watching Marble Hornets about a decade after it originally was aired. So that will be an adventure. But for all intents and purposes, on my channel, I label Local 58 as the OG analog horror series. And it is the first analog horror series I ever saw. I was absolutely enthralled by it because my origin with internet horror came from your, top 15s, scariest, weird YouTube videos, things like that, Ghost Caught on Tape, and, things like Terror the Android and Blank Room Soup and stuff like that. So I was very into this medium of, is it real? What is the backstory? Kind of blending creepypasta with this video medium. So the jump to an analog horror series like Local 58 makes absolute sense for me. And from there, I've just fallen deep, deep, deep. But I realized I've never paused to like analyze or think hard about Local 58 beyond, wow, it's good. It's undeniably good. It's the grandfather of my favorite subgenre of horror, and the moon's bad. That's it. I've never bothered to actually examine it. I've never even watched a video essay examining it because I was always like, well, Local 58, I've seen that like 10 times. That's fine. It's whatever. And it's true. I have watched Local 58. 10 times is probably an exaggeration, but I've watched it over and over again, showing it to other people, just wanting something spooky to throw on. But I've never sat and really looked at it as a whole. So that's what I'm doing today. And who the hell am I? I'm GlitchWitch. I make videos about internet horror, analog horror, digital horror, creepypastas, internet urban legends, ARGs, and sometimes survival horror games, which usually just means Silent Hill. But last week it meant mouthwashing. Go watch that video, please. Thank you. And this whole thing started because 2 videos ago I did this analog horror roundup thing where I covered, yes, 4 very prominent series within the analog horror space that all released videos within the week of Halloween 2024. We had Local 58, Mandela Catalog, Walton Files, and Urban Spook. So when I was watching this new Local 58 video, which was very exciting because Local 58 had not posted in several years, I discovered that there was a website ARG tie-in to Local 58 that was created a few years back in 2021 and 2022. And I had fully missed it when it originally had gone up. I just did not know about it. So in that video, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to look into the website. And if I do that, I'll film it and record, you know, just my exploration. That's something I do on this channel sometimes. I did it with the K-pop group aespa's analog horror-y album tie-in. I did it with Neon Pictures Cuckoo film website, and the one that I'm most proud of is I did it with the Neon Pictures again website tie-in for Longlegs, thebirthaymurders.net, and unfortunately YouTube would not allow that up. It is for free on my Patreon. If you are a fan of Longlegs and you want that sweet, sweet Longlegs lore, go to I'll link it below. Just check it out on my Patreon. It's free. You don't even have to join my Patreon to watch it. It's just hosted up there. I don't want to hide my videos behind a paywall ever, but I needed a place where I could post that unrestricted, so check that out. But I love to record me exploring a website. I did it with the Silent Hill ARG recently as well. And here's the thing. I sat down. I'm going to show it to you in a second. You'll see it. It's just, there's not a ton. It's almost not enough to make a whole video about. And you'll notice as I go through it, I keep being like, oh my God, wait, is there a plot? And it's like, yes, I always knew there was an overarching plot, something to do with the moon, but I kept finding little nuggets and not quite remembering how things connected to what. So when I finished exploring that website, I said, I'm rewatching this whole dang thing, and I'm placing plot points on a piece of paper, and I'm going to look through them, and I'm going to surmise what the GlitchWitch.JPG plot interpretation of our dear beloved Local 58 is. And you know what? Some of you may be watching this and going, GlitchWitch, Wendigoon did that like 8 years ago. First of all, he didn't, because Local 58 is only 5 years old. Yes, there are video essays by very popular internet horror analysts out there. Go watch them if you want to, but if you just, you know, you want a reappraisal of Local 58, you want to check in now as the 3rd season's starting, that's what I'm here for. And if you're like me, and you just, when you really love a series or a movie or a book or whatever, and you just want to eat up every little thing there is to be said about it, that's what this video is for as well. So join me as I take a look first at local58.tv, find some little nuggets, find some little secrets, look at some cool web design, and then I will be right back here, and we're gonna talk about what the hell's happening with the goddamn moon and this Local 58 TV station. Hello everyone, it's GlitchWitch.JPG, but you can just call me GlitchWitch. I probably already did an intro where I was physically there, but I'm recording this first, so to me, it feels like I'm doing this. Anyway, today we are taking a little look-see onto Local58.TV, the website ARG tie-in to the mother of all analog horror series, Local 58, created by our beloved Chris Straub. So, I'm just going to take a little look-see. I really don't know anything about this. I mentioned it in my analog horror roundup video that I somehow just fully missed that this existed. You know, I definitely came to Local 58 later than, when it came out in 2017. I would say I started watching it 2019-ish, thanks to my wonderful brother-in-law, Quinn. Shout out, Quinn. You created a monster. And, I was hooked ever since. And, it is the starting point. It's the first analog horror series I ever saw. And I just love it. I think it captures such a magic about what makes analog technology scary. And I think it's been so cool that there's also this move into digital with Local 58 moving to digital, but kind of not moving to digital. It's very interesting. I think Chris is doing a great job playing with how the genre has evolved since he essentially, created it. And so when you go to local58.tv, at the top we have a Wayback Machine-esque thing up here called the Look Back Web Archive, and the home page is an internal server error. It says the server encountered an internal error or misconfiguration and was unable to complete your request. Please contact the server administrator and inform them of the time the error occurred and anything you might have done that may have caused the error. And then we have the error here, and then we have this kind of glitched out image, which I'm sure there's something going on. This almost looks like QR code-esque. And I can't quite make out what this says. So I'm just going to go chronologically here, and so when I hit the look back, it just goes to the home page. But let's see, I think the first one we have here is, okay. So this is 1999. The images are not loading. But, I mean, isn't this just beautiful? I love the aesthetic. That says Gov, so I wonder if it's a government thing. So, yeah, just the first, instance of there being a website for Local 58, which is super cool. This... I love, this is just such there's so much care put into this. I just love how it's mimicking the Wayback Machine. So this looks to be a TV repair guide, or TV, manual. Which clearly I think based on the video where it went digital, that, it alluded to the fact that the analog Local 58 was not going offline, that there is power in the analog nature of it. Like the moon or whatever is going on clearly has something to do with that. Forgive me, I'm sipping my coffee as I'm doing this. And this kind of affirms that to me, but it's talking about the vestigial low band filter. I'm not gonna read this, but know that. So yeah, Civil Broadcasting Authority. So this must be like an actual, manual that they had at the station. So I'm gonna go to the schedule and see what happens. Oh, it takes you to YouTube. Okay. Public access doesn't take you anywhere. Current events doesn't take you anywhere. Careers and archive. Okay, so schedule was the only one, and it was the YouTube channel, so that's kind of fun and clever. Okay, so 2001, there's 2 captures.
Okay. So the first one is January 9th, 2001, and it's another internal server error. Okay. So let's try the second one. Okay, so we have a slightly updated version of what we saw in the 90s. The little American flags kill me. Just the gifs. So we have more images this time. We have a little bit more robust of a button section over here, which I love. And the all your favorites is populating this time. It was not populating last time. So Local58, Public Eye, Sky Watching, the 58 Light Movie, Still Life, and then again just Local58. So the things that we've seen throughout the series, and I'm sure this takes you again to YouTube. Nothing for, yeah, so these aren't clickable, and we're still missing some images here, but I just love the web design. I think it's great. So nothing for a while. I think until the series started in 2017. Yeah, so when you hit 2017, it's just you know, the YouTube channel. And then 2021, the first one, this is like when it was launched. Yep. So I believe that this website was launched back when the digital video came out. So, this is the new logo. Are you ready to make the switch to digital? On July 13th, 2021, WCLV-TV Local 58 will join stations nationwide and broadcast using the DTV digital standard. If you have an analog TV set, you'll need to set up a digital converter box to make it compatible. And I assume this is similar to what we were seeing earlier, a manual that's glitching out. Don't have a digital receiver? Check your eligibility for a free digital conversion kit at many electronics retailers or by calling 845-622-5580. Even if you don't qualify or just miss the availability window, don't worry, there are other receivers. So, yeah, we have a Local 58 schedule screen kind of glitching out here. Yeah, it appears to be just various screens from existing Local 58 videos that are glitching out. This almost appears to be like a hand. That might be a crazy reach, but it almost looks like an arm and a hand. Like, yeah, I think there has to be something going on with specifically the analog. And then 2021, the second one, takes us to where we are now. So there's not a ton here. So I went onto the Reddit and I'm doing something that I didn't consider. When I go to save images as, and you can see I'm saving to my previous video, which was the mouthwashing video. So this saves as converter guide. That's fine. This saves as there are other receivers. That was kind of, I got a clue into that on the r/local58. So yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I definitely think that there is something is taking in the information, and it obviously has to do with the moon. So let's see. Let me go back and see if, what does this save as? Cache error. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, that was an internal server error. I don't know. Yeah, so that's like embedded in. Let's see. Broadcast day. P_I. Skywatch. So yeah, I think these are all. It's nothing crazy. And what was 2017 was just the YouTube channel. Okay. So that's interesting. What does this save as? That's another cache error. Okay. So this image that we're seeing has been up since 2021, and someone, our lovely Apple's 056YT, has cracked what they think it means. And essentially this is likely connected to the Thought Research Initiative, which is the sleep tape, which really is kind of the standout one that I feel like I haven't seen anything else on. So if this ARG kind of continues that would be really interesting. Sorry, my cats are making noises. So interesting, very interesting, much to think about. So there's not a ton on this website, at least that I can parse together. I thought it was gonna be a little bigger. So I went in and I typed in there are other receivers to the top. You can't see it because I have not screen recorded the top part of this, my bad. But I typed in there are other receivers because that was the name of that image, and that was kind of the only weird image name. I may go back and type in some of the cache errors and see what happens, but for now, let's start here. Some coffee sipping ASMR. And we have a scan of, you know, essentially a some sort of guide, newspaper guide, whatever, about recording VHS tapes at home. So I am just going to read this because I think it's neat. Again, I think, you know, a lot of analog horror is taking the analog out, and that's okay. I do think it's evolved into its own thing, but like I talked about recently, I was really excited to see Mandela Catalog Unraveling Part 2 get really into like the tech of analog, so it does always kind of tickle me to see this. So what is a magnetic tape? It's like having a television studio inside your home, from movies to sports, from educational to instructional programs, all waiting for you when you walk in the door. Available to buy or rent at select department stores, our magnetic tape cartridge player connects to any standard television set for true-to-life picture quality and sound. What can it do for you? Anything you can see, you can capture on tape. Place a blank cartridge into your recording system, connect to a TV with attached microphone for sound, take your subject, rewind, and play it back as a home movie. Simple operation. Learn to use in a few short hours, not weeks. Your personal theater. Select from hundreds of featured movies to watch on your player on your own TV at home using our cartridge rental service. Just insert the title, adjust the picture, and press the play button. No theater gets closer than the one in your living room. Monitor your home. A camera for your back door, your front door. One for the nursery, one for the hall. Another pointing at the alley beyond the fence. A closed-circuit monitoring system helps you keep an eye on everything. There's nothing like the peace of mind of knowing you can see it all at the touch of a button. Record live programs. Record video from any compatible source, including broadcast television. Keep your favorites for all time on magnetic video to enjoy whenever you want and watch them all again and again. Set the recording timer to tape TV programs even when you're not home. Yours without a second thought. The magnetic tape spool in each cartridge holds up to 120 minutes of high-fidelity video and sound. My cat is trying to knock down Christmas decorations. Good job, Walter. That's awesome. There it went. It was a gnome. Never lose a single moment again. Time, at once both a warden and thief, laid low by gossamer loops of air and iron. Here is a greater, finer memory than that of men. Before the gilded dorsal of our master's silent house, we lift our mortal eyes along its wide forgotten stair and fix them there upon an empty throne. That's what I'm talking about. See, this is why you gotta read this stuff. Walter, stop knocking things down. That's why you gotta read this stuff, because there's cool stuff at the bottom. So yeah, I love this. And clearly, I don't know, like, part of me wonders
is like there's someone specific or a specific group of people within Local 58 that use, the capabilities of VHS tapes to insert, their own messages and things like that. That's kind of my assumption. That's like the most realistic, like, oh, this is just run by people type thing. Or the, moon or the deity in the moon or whatever is going on with the moon must be able to control analog technology. Kind of similar to how the alternates in the Mandela catalog, like, can traverse through analog technology and eventually digital technology. That's kind of what I'm hoping for more, because I just love the idea of, like, just, fantastical creatures being able to utilize technology in this way. That's why I've made a video about it, but there's an ARG called Sexy Girl Max that is about angels using computers to communicate with, their guardian angels communicating with the people that they're watching over. And I just think it's so fascinating. Angel Hair, I talked about in that video as well, is another great analog horror series that deals with the fact that, angels would use media to, watch over people and things like that. And once the internet got involved, it was like overwhelming and too much. So I do love the idea that this, like, moon deity or whatever we're dealing with can't handle digital. Like, it cannot communicate or control digital, so they have to maintain that analog, hold on it. I think that's so cool. I love this. Time at once both a warden and thief, lay low by gossamer loops of air and iron. Here is a greater, finer memory than that of men. Oh, so yeah, I don't know if it's just trying to utilize this technology to change people's perception of their lives and things like that. It's so interesting. I love it. Oh, I love it. Chris Straub, you motherfucker, you know how to do it. Coffee ASMR again. Okay, love that. This makes me want to go back and try to read. There was another one. I'm trying to remember where it was. Was it 99? This makes me want to read this and see if there's anything that I can purse, but I mean, it's kind of hard to read. So it's talking about, I'm just scanning it quickly. I think this is, I don't think there's anything actually cool in this. I'm pretty sure it's legit. Let me see what, I'm just curious if I type that in. Okay, so when you can't find it, like when it's not a real page, this pops up. Love that text effect. What does this say? I'm gonna copy and paste it. Okay, so when you copy and paste that error message that's all kerned together, it says beyond a certain point, watching is no different from doing. Ooh, I love that, because that's essentially saying that we are, sorry, my cat just yelled. You good, bud? You're good. It's not lunchtime yet. Mama's doing ARG stuff. Okay, good boy. It's essentially saying that we are just as, implicit in all of this by watching it. Like, we may not be the ones messing with the tapes or distributing the tapes or whatever is going on. I'm not sure that that's exactly what's happening, but the fact that we are consuming this and watching this, we are part of it. Love that. I love when these series implicate the viewer. I think that it's hard to do sometimes, but when you can make it work and make it make sense, I live for it. And this absolutely makes sense. And I love, it just adds, it makes it feel more real. It adds a layer to it that is just so cool. I love it. So there was, the lovely Reddit has helped me out here. And there was a QR code, and I believe it's referring to the QR code
let me get back to it. This, I think someone was able to figure that out, which Godspeed, because I don't think that would capture normally. They must have had to recreate it or something. Or this was a QR code that existed previously that is no longer up on the website. But regardless, it links to this image of Chris Straub, the creator of Local58, liking a reply that says, "A predator cannot differentiate prey from accomplice," which I think that goes back to, where was my page? Just the error. Interesting. So when I type in that phrase, the beyond a certain point, watching is no different from doing it takes me to this page. Interesting. But let me get back to the cache error. Okay, so this was, okay, it's not giving me the error anymore. That's so strange. What's this image called? The era of home recording. So what happens if I'm just trying to get an error page again. Okay, interesting. So there's definitely a narrative going on about us being part of what's happening. The whole, like, the predator can't distinguish prey from accomplice. Essentially, I think the moon, is just using people to do whatever it wants with them. I keep calling it the moon. I don't know what it is, but the big bad of this series, right? So this is it's just very interesting because this is not a series that I have. My cats are running like crazy. I think there's a fly or something. This is not a series I've ever sat down and like really analyzed on the whole because it's, it feels segmented and it's definitely not your straightforward linear narrative like some analog horror series, the way that like Mandela or The Walton Files or generally later ones. This and Gemini, I think, are telling their stories in a more fragmented way, which I think is really effective in the medium, and it's kind of what set the tone for the medium. And it's just interesting because I feel like this has illuminated a lot for me on what I think could be happening here, and just the implication that we are part of the problem and part of the thing going on here, I think is so neat. And, I love a website tie-in. I mean, I always will. So someone on Reddit was smart enough to check the real Wayback Machine to see what the Local58 website had looked like, just to see how Chris had edited it. So this is September 13th, 2021, and I think it's just alluding to the fact that it switched over, so I don't know what happens when I click this. Oh, it's literally the FCC guide. It literally links to the actual FCC information about local broadcasting, which is fun. So they also linked another 2021, and it's essentially the look back archive, and then it cuts back. This is, I guess, the general server error image. Here's another one. This is what we're used to seeing, and this is what it's stayed with since then. yep, so that's pretty much it. I want to thank user Noel Kick for that. That's super cool. I mean, it's not a ton, but it's cool. And they've pointed out in this too that, like, in the HTML errors, instead of saying Apache, which is what it actually says in real code, it says apogee. And they have pointed out that apogee refers to the point in the orbit of the moon, a planet, or other object in space when it is furthest from the planet, for example, the Earth, around which it turns. So that was very intentional, clearly. So there's certainly some little nuggets. I mean, this isn't like an incredibly comprehensive ARG by any means, but, you know, I was going to go ahead and look at it myself, so I thought I'd bring y'all along. I was going to look at this anyway. It's not incredibly comprehensive, but I do certainly think it's fun to take a look. And I just, anything that builds the world of our lovely analog horror series that we love so much is exciting to me. So yeah, not a huge one this time, but again, if I was going to look at it anyway, I thought I'd bring y'all along. But back to me, I guess. I'm sure I'll have something to say.
Hello, I hope you enjoyed that. Not the most comprehensive website. I don't really care, though. It was a perfectly palatable amount of things for me to find. If you've watched some of my previous website exploration videos, I get scared when things auto-download or, you know, encrypt, and I'm a little worried about internet security. It is something that scares me, yet here I am doing this for fun. So this was a very palatable, approachable ARG. You don't really need it in order to enjoy the series, which I love. Sometimes I think, you know, you're leaving the analog horror space with that, right? I just think it's nice little Easter eggs, kind of. Similarly to, I missed it when this happened, but the Mandela Catalog had a, like a teaser for episode 4, where it was the Mandela County police website, and you could log in as Thatcher Davis. I fully missed that when it happened, and it's still an enjoyable series for me, you know? So that's how I view this. But it got me thinking, it got me wondering, I need to go back and watch Local 58. I love it. So it's weird to do a retrospective on something that's only 5 years old, but in analog horror world, that's ancient history. Okay? So I'm just gonna go boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna tell you how I think each of these videos relates to the greater plot, and then give you a little what I think is going on. So I always viewed this as a disjointed anthology, and I believe, this is just my opinion, I do think that's how it started. I think that was Mr. Straub's intention originally. I don't know if he always planned on there being an overarching the moon is evil subplot. Because as I rewatched it, it seemed like that emerged about halfway through. I watched this in playlist order, which is not the same as upload order, which does lead me to believe, once again, that this was not the original intention. The original first upload was You Are on the Fastest Available Route, followed by Contingency, followed by Weather Service. Now, when you go to the playlist of Season 1 on the Local 58 YouTube channel, it is in the order of Weather Service, Contingency, and Fastest Available Route. And this, to me, is setting up the moon plot right from the bat with Weather Service. So Weather Service, I believe, takes place around the 2000s based on the Local 58 logo and branding. And this sets up the struggle between people that work at Local 58 trying to control the station and the moon, or the people in the moon, or the people controlled by the moon trying to hijack this broadcast. This is the struggle we get throughout the entire series. I would say that is the main plot point that is consistent. And I love this video. I think it's terrifying. It is the emergency alert analog horror video. Boy, did it just change the game. Internet war really ran with an emergency alert after this video, I feel like, and for good reason. It's scary. There's nothing scarier than that noise. I think that we all have a fight or flight response to that just screeching noise and emergency alert. And I think it's genius to have this counter argument happening within the broadcast. Like, imagine actually seeing that. And I love this idea of playing with how subservient people can be with the government. And we definitely see that in the next video. But the idea that, well, the government, the emergency alert is telling me to go outside, even though it just said I didn't go outside. Should I go outside? And there are certainly people in this world that will go outside without thinking about it. There's a wonderful comic book that was adapted into a movie. I haven't seen the film. I've only read the comic book, called Where the Wind Blows, that talks about an elderly couple in Great Britain in the 80s where the nuclear bombs come. Like, there is a nuke strike. I don't remember who. I think, like, everyone launches their nukes. And there's a warning. They have time to plan, but they go off of what the government told them to do, and it's just everything is wrong. They don't follow the directions at all. They just have faith in the government, and it kills them. And this makes me think of that. And I think that's a really scary concept, especially in, you know, that's effective in the 80s, but it's been effective ever since. My whole, you know, sentient lifetime, we have been in conflict in the United States, caused by us usually. Let's be real. But still, it's scary. So this plays with that trust you place in these institutions, and I really enjoy it. And I think it's done so well, and it looks so good. There's a message at the end that refers to like the moonlight as blood, and I think that whole section, that whole quotation, must be from the perspective of someone who is doing this evil entity in space's bidding. I'm gonna keep calling it the moon. I don't think it is literally the moon, but that's just kind of the easiest thing for me. So no, when I say the moon, I mean the antagonist of Local 58. So next we have Contingency, which is, I believe, chronologically the oldest, and this is in like the late 60s, early 70s, based on, again, the logo. And this is the scariest one to me. This will always be the scariest one to me, kind of going back to what I was just discussing, like the idea of how much faith you put in your government, because essentially it is a existing tape created, or broadcast created, to play in the event that the United States has been taken over by an enemy force. And it essentially is telling you to yourself and don't let them win, because if there's no Americans left to conquer, no one's getting conquered. And this is riffing absolutely on the very real tape that was leaked at CNN. I believe it's CNN. Yes, it's CNN. It's called the Turner Doomsday Video. And it was a video created to be broadcast on CNN at the event of a world-ending event. And it was created because Ted Turner asked for it. Ted Turner was a very eccentric man, to say the least. And this was created right when the network was created, and it shows the U.S. Armed Forces Band performing Nearer My God to Thee, famously the song that was played as the Titanic went down. It was allegedly leaked in 2009 by an intern. I'm not sure if this leak is real or if it is just a recreation of what people claim this video is supposed to look like. And I just think it's scary, it's weird, it's hilarious. That's a video that has always freaked me out, even if it's not real. It just, there's something chilling about it. I think any sort of broadcast interruption or hijacking is inherently really freaky, and I can't really put my finger on it. I think it's that it's coming at you in your house. You feel safe in your home, but there's this outside force messing with that, right? And I love this video. I think it's one of the greatest internet horror videos we have. And again, this was one that I always was like, yeah, this is an anthology series because how does this connect to the wider story? But I do believe that it is simply reaffirming that like blind trust we have on television, the government, things like that, and that's an easy way for an outside force to come in and take advantage of gullible and vulnerable people. And there's a chance that, you know, the moon and moon entity caused this to air on accident to create mass hysteria, create mass panic. It does tell you to go outside to your front lawn and perform, you know, the act of dignity that they refer to in the video. So it's another way for the moon to get its hands on you, right? So again, this one to me is less connected, but when I look at it in comparison with everything else, I can see how it's laying the groundwork. And even if Chris didn't originally intend for this series to be anything more than an anthology, it's certainly building the world of Local 58 in a way that it all feels holistic. So the next one is the original upload, the first upload, the video that created analog horror, you may say. And that is You're on the Fastest Available Route, also set in the 2000s if we were to go off of the title card for Local 58. And God, it's scary. It's so scary. It is scary in a way that any effective found footage series will be. It just builds on the tension, and again, something that we are used to, something that is an everyday comfort. Just your GPS, it's there to help you. Why on earth would it ever lead you astray, right? And it's to the point, this has affected me so much that every single time I use Apple Maps, every time my Apple Maps Siri is like, you're still on the you know, fastest route, I get like a full body chill because this has affected me so much. And again, this was one I never really thought of in the wider grand scheme of the series, but it absolutely is connected because it's this idea that the moon entity, the moon, is hijacking this GPS signal and sending the person driving right to some sort of creature. I had mistakenly, in my previous video where I talked about Local 58, said that the most recent Local 58 episode was the first time we saw like an alien creature, but that's not true at all. We see something here as well, so that groundwork has been laid. And I just think it's cool. It makes you, even if it wasn't intentional for it to be all connected, it works and it makes sense. And it's so scary. I really like it. I know that I'm not adding a lot with some of these. I'm just geeking out about them. Man, it's just, this is how you do it. Like, there's a reason it's the OG. Next we have Show for Children, which I believe is the 1980s, based on, again, the title card. And the moon is back. The moon is on full display. This is season 2. And we get a cartoon about little Cadaver the skeleton. He's so scared. He's so cute. He's so sweet. You know, the moon is a central figure in this. Pretty much the only other character besides Cadaver. And, you know, he's kind of running away, running around. He's very scared. And then he ends up in a grave. And the moon kills him. Even though he's a skeleton, it permanently kills him. So I think in the grand scheme of this overarching moon plot, that this is either a way to tell us, the audience, hey, the moon is bad and it can kill people, or it is an in-universe way for, you know, anti-moon people still working within Local 58 to be like, moon bad. Moon bad. Do you see moon bad? Moon bad. I think it works either way. It's probably both. This one's never been my favorite because the animation's like too good. I wish it was like glitched out or roughed up a little bit just to fit the time period better, but it's beautiful animation. So that's my only criticism. Slap a filter on that bad one. Next we have Real Sleep, which is also the 1980s. I do want to note this is like one of the only ones to air in the afternoon and not at night, which is definitely intentional, but it's funny. And boy, I think that I forget about this one, and I don't know why. Like, I just don't think about it, and I definitely did not consider it in the way that it related to the moon plot, but it certainly does. I would say it's one of the most important in the entire series. I think I overlooked this the way a lot of people originally overlooked Mad in Mandela Catalog, and I mean, that's ended up being an incredibly integral part of that entire series, and I think that Real Sleep is critical in the same way. And before I even get into what it's about, it is a tape. Instead of being a normal broadcast, a TV show, a news, clip, whatever, it is like a tape that you would order and interact with. There's like an instructional booklet. And this also is single-handedly so responsible for entire series in analog horror. I mean, some of the ones that to me are clearly influenced by this specific format. It's one video, but Gooseworks, what is it called? The like Punish and all those Gooseworks. Blue Channel Thalassin. Gooseworks, if you're not familiar, Gooseworks has become astronomically popular because of the series he created, The Amazing Digital Circus, which has blown up so much that it has a Netflix licensing deal. Crazy. But 3 years ago, he created a now infamous analog horror short. It was a one-off called Blue Channel Thalassin, and it's very, very Real Sleep. And then full-on series, I mean, I think Greylock absolutely has elements that were ripped right from it. Sisterhood of Salvation LLC, absolutely directly influenced by this, absolutely parts of the Mandela Catalog, and I'm sure there's more I'm missing, but those are just off the top of my head. Like, this is the blueprint as much as the emergency alert is the blueprint. And this video is put on by an organization called the Thought Research Initiative, and it's essentially a personalized tape telling you dreaming is bad. If you keep dreaming, you're never going to get real sleep, but in fact, it's preventing you from sleeping. There are like subliminals and things like that if you watch it, it will prevent you from sleeping, and then I believe thus leading you to go outside and gaze upon the glory of the moon. So I think this is moon propaganda, at work. So to me, it's very important because, again, it shows another way that the moon is hacking into our media and directly getting people out there. And I don't know if in this case it's to kill people or to like brainwash them. And I just need to also correct a mistake that I said last time I talked about Local 58. I had the audacity in my analog horror roundup to say, Local 58 doesn't do analog horror scary faces. Bitch, it invented them with this video. I forgot. Again, I don't know why. Real Sleep just out of my brain. Incredible analog horror scary faces. So many of them. Playing with color. The fast movements. Making the different shapes. Oh, it's so good. Truly, right there, invented the analog horror scary face. So, the blueprint. I can't say it enough. So, after Real Sleep, we go to Sky Watching, which is the 1990s. And so this is like a normal science-based TV show, but then it is hijacked by a very simple, basic VHS recording that starts off by showing different constellations, naming them with some good old classic VHS mono up on screen, VCR mono, excuse me, before it settles on the moon and labels it his throne. So I do think this is the moment that affirms, like, the moon is not evil, the moon is not the thing doing this, something else is using the moon. I will still continue to just say the moon, though, because it's easier. I definitely think this absolutely was made by occultist or worshiper or follower of the moon. It does feel religious in nature to me, the way that they speak about it, going all the way back to weather service, just the way that these people speak about the moon. It feels like a worship or reverence. And the way that the moon worshiper in this video, Sky Watching, puts their hands up, you know, it feels very reverent. So again, we're getting this idea that there are a group of people that are subservient to the moon. Then y'all, I'm bad. Because again, this was all before I started doing this as my, not my job, but my very time-consuming hobby. There's a whole video I missed called A Look Back, and I'll tell you why I missed it. Because I thought it was a trailer for the channel, so I didn't bother watching it. No, there's lore. It essentially is showing different clips from Local58, which led me to believe, and I think many others, because this video has a lot less views than a lot of the other videos. And it literally could be a trailer for the channel, but it has a very interesting piece of, I don't want to say dialogue because it's not said, but writing. We send signals to ourselves through their domain. Do we really believe they wouldn't add their own? So yes, this is essentially saying we're bouncing signals into space. Why wouldn't space bounce signals back? And yes, I know that's obvious. You can look at me and yell and shake your computer and say, GlitchWitch, you're stupid, duh. Yes, I know it's stupid, but do you know how rare it is for an analog horror series to look you in the eye and say, this is the plot? We don't get that very often. A lot of series, once you think you figure out the plot, it adds a whole new thing. I'm looking at you, Walton Files. What the f is Spawn? I can't wait to find out. I know we won't till next year. But anyway, I think this is great. I think that they're using, you know, humans loving religion as a way to get people to, you know, essentially, what's the animal that jumps off the cliff? Lemming. We're all lemmings. We think we're following some, you know, greater power, but the moon's just probably gonna zap, zap, zip, zap, eat us, whatever it does. And I just think it's neat. I love it. So this essentially affirmed, hey, there's a plot, bozo.
Hello, bozo.
The bozo is me, not you. Then we have digital transition, which up until like 2 or 3 weeks ago was the most recent video. It announces that there's going to be a digital conversion to comply with government regulations. They cannot keep broadcasting analog, but our lovely friends in space assure us, baby, a digital conversion, it's not happening at Local58 right now. We can let them think that's what's happening, but we're still pulling the strings back here. And it ends with a go outside now message. And there's a great quote. Unthinking, they moved to cut his throat, only to make 1,000 mouths. If he is silenced, we will speak for him. Signs and wonders flood our little sky. No stars above us, only eyes waiting to open. There are other receivers, which to me furthers the idea that there is some sort of cult or organization furthering the message of our grand space overlords, and I think that that may continue to be important as we continue on this journey with Local58, and I do think that a lot of the stuff I was finding on the website ties back into that idea. I don't know if the space creatures are able to mess with digital technology, but certainly their followers can, and their followers can get into the website and mess with it. So I'm not quite 100% on that yet. I'd love to know what you think. But space definitely seems very hell-bent on analog. And I don't know how satellites work these days. I don't know. I assume the digital beep boops still go up to satellites. I don't know. Do I look like a scientist to you? There is one more before the most recent upload, and that was a very long Halloween live stream from a few years ago called Close. And it's essentially, it's a very big tease. It's like 28 minutes of a countdown, and it shows a satellite or whatever you call it that's going to monitor a comet called Eidolon, or the skull face comet. And I looked it up. Eidolon means an idealized person or thing or a specter or phantom. So this is definitely coming straight from the source. And once the satellite lands, we see a door on the side of the comet, and then the door opens and just yeets the satellite out of the air, and it ends. So I think that's funny. It was just big weight for that, but it was cool, and I like this comet. It's scary. So I'll be interested to see how that ties back in. And then in the most recent video that was uploaded a few weeks ago, I talked about it in my last video, but essentially it's a Unsolved Mysteries-esque TV show from the 70s that airs showing this anomaly called the Woman in Profile that ends up being an alien creature. And this is only revealed when the TV show is hijacked by a VHS recording of someone seeing this alien creature, very similar to sky watching, although I'm not sure the person recording this is in on the whole moon space thing, because they seem quite alarmed. So I'm very excited to see where it goes from here. But yes, I think that clearly the plot at hand is the moon is using our analog signal to communicate back to humanity, to make them vulnerable, to play with their trust in television and authority in order to get people outside either worshiping the moon or able to be consumed or eaten by the moon. Forgive my little Google buzzing thing. I am recording this on my lunch break. So if you hear that ding, that's someone asking me for something at lunch. I think it was just so fun as someone who loves analog horror to go back and really just get into the nitty gritty on Local 58 and just celebrate how cool it is. Like, it's really cool when the thing that started it still holds up to this level and is still coming out with stuff. And I still get just as excited to see new things as I did back when it started. And I hope that Chris Straub continues to be involved in the internet horror community. I think he's done great things. I think he is very responsible for attributing, a name to work. I feel like he's one of the first creepypasta authors to really hammer in, hey, I wrote this, and then to go ahead and get a damn TV deal with it too, right? Because of Channel Zero. And I think he's a great advocate for this internet art form, and we need more people like him, and it has happened. We are getting that. You're getting your King Pixels. Alex Kister's trying to turn the Mandela catalog into a movie. You have creepypasta authors like Rebecca Klingel, who now are working in TV, so it's exciting. I think it's really cool to see how much the genre has grown since 2017, and just, I love it. So let me know what you think. Is there anything I missed on Local 58? Are there secrets in the website that I missed? Because I feel like there could be. But, I definitely know I've been covering a lot more popular things recently, like Backrooms, Mouthwashing, Mandela Catalog, Local 58. Trust and believe I'm going to be going right back to some smaller series. There's one series in particular that is near and dear to my heart that is finishing up soon, I know for a fact, that I'll be covering. I recently discovered another very underviewed series that I think is really cool and has a lot to it that I will be covering in the future. And that Silent Hill 2 remake video, it will come someday. It will come someday. I am just a busy bee. It's the holiday season. We'll get there. I promise. Shout out to it for being nominated for a shit ton of game awards. Not Game of the Year. The Elden Ring DLC got Game of the Year, but the Silent Hill 2 remake didn't. But whatever. I haven't played the Elden Ring DLC. I'm sure it kicks ass because everything FromSoft does is cool. But I digress. Thank you so much for watching. I'd like to thank my lovely YouTube members. I have the Creepypasta OCs up on screen, and then in Survival Horror Emo we have E-Rob and So-Called Punk, and then in Analog Horror Scary Face we have Kira Coffer. Thank you so much for supporting me, my lovely members. If you would like to be a member, there's a little join button next to the subscribe. You can press that as well. That's free. And I just appreciate all your support, watching, commenting, liking, sharing. It's so cool. I love when you guys comment and we can have little conversations in the comments. My last mouthwashing video, there were some really, really cool, interesting conversations happening in that comment section. And I was kind of scared to post that video because I talked about some heavy shit. But I think the response was really good, and I think that there were some really cool points that people brought up that I didn't even think about. So that's what I love about this. I love hearing what y'all think. So don't hesitate to comment what you think about Local58. And any other analog horror series that you'd like me to watch, because that's one of my favorite things about doing this, is finding new stuff because of y'all. So thank you so much for watching. Do not go outside and look at the moon, okay? Promise me. Bye.